Доброго дня, шановне товариство.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me allow to say thank you to the organizers for creating the opportunity having this discussion today, talking about the partnership, the whole of Europe, and also the entire world. Talking about the Eastern Partnership, we cannot omit the problem that one of the bordering countries, the member of the Eastern Partnership, was trying to destroy the inspiration of our nation. That country is the Russian Federation that's being led by Vladimir Putin. Putin said that the worst tragedy of the 20th century was the collapse of the Soviet Union. That's the proof and an indicator of the way he thinks, the way he perceives our European aspirations. The real aim of Putin is the recreating of that geopolitical space that should remain under the control of the Kremlin, the way it used to be during the Soviet Union. And the conviction of Vladimir Putin comes down to the control of the Kremlin over those forces that would lead to renew the control over our countries, over our nations. The events that began in the Maidan in the Ukraine were not only the fight for the freedom of speech, it was not just wanting the democracy and Europe. In many ways, we went there to fight for the independence of our country because we knew that the signing of the partnership agreement, would not allow Ukraine to join the Union, and vice versa. Not signing the partnership agreement would lead to joining the Union with Russia, and that would be end of Europe. Yanukovych was just a puppet, and he was doing everything Putin wanted him to. The victory that we reached at Maidan and following military aggression by the Russian Federation is just the proof that building of the Russian mirror in the Russian world is key aim of Putin. Today in the Ukraine, what we have is not the conflict between Russia and the Ukraine, it's a global conflict, because Putin does not imagine recreating of that Russian empire without the Ukraine, but his aspirations go even further. It's about all of the Eastern Europe. His ambitions involve also the process that is going on within the European Union. So this problem is a global problem. The methods of the hybrid war that are being used, modern technique, using the divergent groups sent, well, we can say that the enforcements of the information groups for the Ukrainian society if that test that's being used on the Ukrainian society, if it turned out to be positive, useful, well, we should be aware that it would be repeated in other countries of the Eastern Partnership and also other countries that are bordering with the Russian Federation. Well, today the Ukraine is a front country of this fight. It undertook the fight. The Ukraine answered to those imperial ambitions and wanting to creation of that Russian mirror, Russian world. If we don't perceive this as a global threat, and we will remain convinced that it's just a challenge to the Ukraine, we won't be able to answer that global challenge holistically. We won't be able to formulate a global answer to that threat. It's not just a Ukrainian-Russian conflict. It's a challenge that's being thrown against the entire civilized world. And that's why we should answer in a determined and specific way. The Ukraine continues the course that we began at the Maidan, fighting for the Ukrainian independence. I would like to assure you that the Maidan is being continued in the Ukraine right now. Those people who are there at the barricades at the center of Kyiv fighting for the independence of the Ukraine, today 5,000 of those people are fighting in the east of the country, in Mariupol and Baltsevo. They're also fighting for the Ukrainian independence. And thousands of the volunteers that used to fight in Maidan, today they support the Ukrainian front that otherwise would be extremely difficult to keep up, if not the common national Ukrainian will to support our boys that are fighting at the front. But today we have to say that the Ukraine alone is not able to answer the threat in a definite way, because we're facing one of the most powerful army in the world. And in this case, that extremely determined, tough position of our partners in the European Union, involving the economic sanctions, diplomatic pressure, political pressure, economic pressure, that's this other step without which we're not able to defeat Putin. And I'm absolutely convinced that only by force we can defeat Putin and we can stop this radical idea and to create this Russian mirror. Today, analyzing the situation and with the help of the economic sanctions against Putin, that their aim is to destroy the imperium created by Putin, the empire created by Putin. We're convinced that only those two fronts are able to stop him. When we're talking about the perspectives of the Eastern Partnership and the development of the European Union, enlargement of the European Union, we have to be aware that without the common answer to that challenge, we won't be able to discuss the future or talk about the future development of the democratic process without stopping of Vladimir Putin. It will be difficult to still think that the nations have the right to independently decide about its whole future, because the Russian artillery or Russian tanks will be there in the shadows. So it will be very difficult to talk about our common future if we don't together won't do everything we can to stop Putin.